Hold on. I wonder. No, let's move over to.
So what's it like living alone, Guide, without any partner? I can't find the light switch.
No, it's Niklas is out. That's the problem. He is the light switch guy. So let's see. Okay. We're gonna do this, I think.
Okay, it looks a bit dark in your room. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Tron Kringstad. Yes.
I'm lighting up here now.
Hi, Levan.
Okay, this is better. Or maybe I'll just move you guys over here.
Okay.
Hello from outer space, joining us tonight.
Okay, let's see. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
I just need to air a little bit because I just came out of the bathtub, obviously. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that will be.
Are we recording it?
We are recording. Of course, we are recording. I had to because Geir was like moving around. I had to like bring this on the first tape. I was thinking like this is parenting, crazy.
I was just about to come with a really rude joke for Guy, but as we're recording, I know.
No, the thing is that I need some parenting. That's the point. I need to be parented.
You've got one of those
I get
funny
into
angles.
this Zoom.
Yeah,
so I get into the Zoom call correctly.
You've got one of those funny angles for the.
I've got funny angles again. Okay, so this is better.
Yeah, that's actually a lot better. The other way is like Gandalf. It really is. It's like you're looking up. Yeah, like that's more like Gandalf. It's like what the heck is it with this dude?
Well, you know, I don't know. Did Gandalf have children? You know?
I think he makes children. He just wishes them, and then they just be.
Ah. Completely parented and everything.
Yeah, finished product.
Yeah. That should be better. Okay, so.
And we have 2 extra people here today.
Yes.
People we haven't seen before.
Hi, Levan. Hello.
Hello.
Who are you?
Okay. I think I have a small post like in the Facebook. I came actually I was born in Vietnam and I live in Japan right now. It's like 4 a.m. in the morning in Japan.
Oh, that's cool. So where in Japan? Because I've been there a few times or many times.
I live in Kyoto.
Okay, cool.
In Kyoto, so like I think you probably know Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto, right? It's like popular places for visit.
Yeah, I've been close to Kyoto, and I also been many times to Tokyo.
I see. So Kyoto is also a popular place for like traveling and visiting in Japan as well. And I've been here for like 2 years. I am not the parent right now, but like because I came from an Asian countries, and I'm curious about like how parents in other countries, especially in other cultural works, because like in Asian countries, usually like my parents applies to me almost like corporal punishments and all the times in the past, and I did not feel it's a effective way to treat a child. So I feel okay, let's join to the club, just join to the Zoom and to see like how things are different in another continent of the world.
Yeah, I can tell you the culture, at least in Norway and Western Europe, is quite different in that respect as to Japan. But there are similarities also between the Japanese, especially and the Norwegian, in that we are quite introverted as people, and it's hard to you don't talk to people on the subway. So, and we don't do that either. Whereas in the southern part of Europe, it's a lot more extroverted, like Spain and Italy, etc., and people are talking much to each other, just like in India. But Japanese and the Norwegian people, like one-to-one, are quite similar. But when it comes to structure of society and structure between, parents and grandparents, etc., that is different. That is quite different.
I see. actually,
But
it was
we'll see that when this pans out, when we start and talk about these things, you will see.
okay.
We had this guy asking us to like change the day in the week to do this Zoom meetings, and we are not hard to ask, so we just moved it to Thursdays, not Fridays. So I think it will be Thursday now, every Thursday 9 o'clock, right?
Sure.
Sure.
That's perfect.
That's perfect. So let's begin then, I think.
We also have Trond.
Trond, yeah. Trond.
Hello, Trond. Who's Trond?
Good afternoon. I just saw it on Facebook, so I just wanted to listen in and see what you're discussing. I have a son, he's 4 years old, and we are living here in Oslo.
Okay, cool.
Welcome to the party, Trond.
Thank you.
Now, how this works is this is just this is the third time we do a session together, and we have various people on the panel, or not various people, like Brendan, me, and Catherine. But then we had another person in the first round, and we have had one that had to do with procrastination, and one that had to do with setting goals, and then we talked about what to do on the third one, and parenting came up. So this is our third show, if you can call it that. And then this is taped and it's put on the group Help Without Thought of Reward, which is a group I started a couple of weeks ago. And the group itself has got lots of traction. And we're hoping that this will be a weekly thing that we're doing with various themes. We can talk about a lot of stuff. We won't run out of subjects until at least 2025. So, and Brendan and I are doing a lot of stuff with a lot of people, and we're coaching, we are doing mental training, we are helping people a lot without thought of reward. That doesn't mean the help is not rewarding, but it's not helping because we get something always. We do that too, like consulting, and we get money for what we do for companies, but we do a lot of one-to-one helping without any monetary or other type of getting something back straight for the help. It's just because we like to see people succeed, and then it just happens to be help without reward or thought of reward. So it is it's something that you get used to in doing. And I just have to say something before we do parenting. One person came up to me and asked me, or said actually, suggested that, oh yeah, it's easy for you to do help without reward or thought of reward just because you've gotten into a position where you are, financially independent and you can do this kind of things. And I said, no, that's not how it works. It started the other way around. I started helping people unconditionally when I was young and deeply in debt. And most people then totally focus on themselves and focus on getting money in, but that doesn't feel right. So I started to help people back in 1990, just off the street or in cafes and everywhere. And that's why I came to the position. It's not the other way around. So just to comment on that. But Catherine, parenting.
Yeah, so I have listening to you, or not you, but Brendan a lot, because I have joined in some workshops he has done in the schools around here. And he has also introduced me to the growth mindset, and I really like that one. Do you know about the growth mindset?
Who are you asking?
Yeah.
Me?
No, I don't know. Maybe Brendan. Sorry.
Yeah, Brendan.
If I was explaining the growth mindset as simple as possible, I'd explain with the use of yet. That we divide people into two groups, and we divide them into people who say, I don't know how to do that. And other people who say, I don't know how to do that yet. And I think something that my kids have turned on me a lot, these really crazy kids, I've got two of them, one that's 12-year-old and one that's 8-year-old, that are now correcting their father when they say, Papa, you forgot to say yet. They're saying, hey, Papa, do you want to try and do a backflip on the trampoline? I said, oh, I can't do that. Papa, yet.
Yeah, that is a simple explanation to the growth mindset. It's about, challenging yourself and getting into positions where you don't know that yet, but you can. So
Perfect. Yes, Geir?
Yeah, I've got 4 kids.
Yeah.
So I'm twice as experienced as Brendan. But I have no experience with girls. I don't do girls at all. I only got 4 boys, and they're evenly spread out over a big spectrum. One is 21 years old, one is 17, one is now 12, and one is 4.5. So it's a big spread, and I've got to try this 4 times actually. So I'm on my 4th run, and the funny thing is that I just got to say one thing is that when the first kid comes, you're always very sort of careful to do the right thing, and you have to do this way, and you read about parenting, and you're very sort of uptight and serious about being a parent. When you come down to the 4th one, it's like, yeah, you'll be fine. Climb that building, sure, I can stand there. If you fall, I try to catch you. It's oh, you haven't eaten for 5 hours, okay, we'll fix that. You become sort of very relaxed about the whole situation, because they are individuals who actually do know to a large extent to say what they want, and they can take care of themselves more than we think as parents. They're not made out of porcelain. So it becomes different when the 4th one
it's a lot worse, in Ireland with these Irish Catholics. It's like, yeah, we've got my firstborn, which is Paddy, we've got John, we've got James, we've got what's your names again, guys? Like when you get up like past 7, it's just like, wow, it's too many. But everybody was going for the football team. That was always the dream when I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have enough kids to have my own football team. But I have 2 girls, and the last 2 days, there's a lot of visitors come here with the girls, so their friends come here, and I've asked them all. I said, I'm going to have a webinar online, and I want to ask you guys what makes a good parent. And they always like, what? I said, okay, so there's some grown-ups, and some of the grown-ups you would say, oh, that person there is a good parent, and that person would be less of a good parent. So why would that person there be a good parent? That was the question that we ended up with. And the answer that everybody said was that they listen. That was number 1. They listen to their kids. That everybody said that they listen to the kids. I also asked a couple of grown-ups. I asked my wife, I asked Tor, who's a friend, who's a teacher, and the grown-ups that I asked didn't say that didn't mention listening, which is really fun. Most of the grown-ups are talking about you need to find this balance between being this tough parent and being this loving parent. But all the kids were saying you got to listen, and they also said one other thing, and that was that just stop shouting at us. And if you're going to shout for what we do. Don't criticize me, but criticize what I've done. Just don't criticize me. That's the 2 things that the kids have told me what makes a good parent, that they listen and they don't criticize the person that's done something. They criticize the action.
I got to hook onto the first one about listening, because what most parents, when I coach parents and I ask them about the situation, they have trouble being a parent, they have problem in their relationship with their kids or even as partners, what they usually take on as a role is the teacher or the mentor, meaning they should outflow and make the kid understand or help the kid understand. So the arrows are pointing away from the parent towards the child. Whereas what you're saying is the kids don't want that. They want the other arrow as well. So this is something I've been very mindful of all through my parenting, is that I don't want to be just the teacher or just the mentor. I want to be also the pupil. I want to be molded by my kids. I want to experience something cool because they have different viewpoints than I have now, and they have fresher viewpoint, and they have a modern, fresher viewpoint. When I was a kid, that was back in the 60s and 70s, right? So it's a different world now, and I can learn from that new world from the kids. So I should be listening, not just for their benefit, but for my benefit. So my boys have taught me more than any other mentor I've had. They have come with such, golden sentences right at the right moment. I have a few of those I will share with you today, but those have been so beautiful and so mind-changing for me during these 21 years. So I've try to not only be the teacher or the mentor, I try to be the pupil as well. And that's something that most parents should do more of, I think.
I'll even expand on that because I think exactly the same. I think that I was ready to teach my two girls like everything about the world. Like this is the way that things work, and it's been the other way around. That they've been the best teachers for me to, I think, make me a better person. But I think one thing that I have to mention here today is that I always try and like get us down to something practical. What can people get out of this webinar and practical? And one thing that a lot of parents do is they could probably agree with what I've said, but the person that doesn't hear that is the actual kids. So here's practical tip number one. Tomorrow morning, I guess, if the kids are asleep, or tonight, whatever, but sit your kid down, because it doesn't matter if the kid is like 19 years old and the kid's still awake. Like after this webinar, it's just sit your kid and tell your kid that, you know, I was talking behind your back in this webinar, and we were talking about that kids teach their parents a lot. So sit down with the kid and actually tell them, and be specific. Like the more specific you can be, the better it can be. So give these situations. So like one situation that I've told one of my girls is we divided life up into things that matter and things that don't matter. It's like, if this is some drama, does it matter? Like, is it really like, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. Then it's probably okay. It'll fix itself. And then all the stuff like, does it matter? Yeah, it really matters. We've got to do something. So we were driving to the National Stadium, and one of my oldest girls scraped the inside of our car. You know, these Renaults that we had, the Renault 500, that crazy cool car, and she scraped the inside of it. And I'm like, what the fuck did you do? What the fuck did you do? And she's like, this like shaky little voice, does it really matter? And I'm like, wow, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, it probably could, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You know, thanks. And I like telling her thanks. And I always sometimes bring that up with her. I sit it down and I tell her this story again. And there's a lot of these situations that I think that we should share back with our kids of specific examples whenever they teach us things.
I've got a beautiful story on this. When Niklas, he's now 21, when he was 3 years old, he was coming with me to a seminar I had downtown in Oslo. And usually this takes about, 12, 30 minutes to drive there. But at this time, there was some road work or something, and it was completely stuck in traffic. And there was this tunnel I couldn't divert or anything. I had to sit there. And it dragged on, and my phone went dead. So I couldn't call in and say, I'm sorry, I'm late. There were 14 people waiting for me. And I was like honking the horn, and I was like really being an asshole in the traffic. And I did all the red lights. When I finally get out of the traffic, I did all the red lights, and Niklas was sitting beside me in the front seat on a little extra seat, which is completely illegal in Norway. You should sit in the back, right? But I took all the red lights. I taught him how not to drive because I was so stressed out at that time. This was back when I used to, or could be stressed, which is back then. But then anyway, we came to the point where there was green light, and with 3 cars standing on the green light waiting for I don't know fucking what. So I honked the horn and nothing moved. And Niklas just looked at me and he said, Daddy, this is not a crisis. He was 3 years old. I just looked at him, and all the air, all the stress, everything just went out of me. And I said, you're absolutely right. There's nobody starving in Sudan because of this. It doesn't really matter. Just like you say, does it matter? Does it not matter? It doesn't really matter. So I just pulled the car down to like 10 kilometers per hour. We found a parking spot. We skipped to the seminar and used our time. We didn't rush, and he was happy. And I came in like 20 minutes too late, but I had a story to tell them about Daddy being corrected by this little 3-year-old. And that's him. That's Niklas. And he can teach his father something very valuable. And that was one of the most life-changing experiences I had from this 3-year-old. Pretty cute.
Perfect.
I have another one with Niklas. I just got to do this one. It's so cool. Before that, and probably that was the thing that inspired him, maybe, I don't know, but he was again like a month or 2 before this episode, he was screaming for ice cream. He was like all tantrum and everything and screaming, I want to have the ice cream. And then I went down to him, kneeled down, and I said to him, Niklas, if it helps to scream, you should scream really well. You should, whatever you do it well. So if you want to scream, just go for it, if it helps. And then he wiped his tears and stood there and said, so I asked, why did you stop? Because it doesn't help. Okay, so what do you think would help then? And he went like, Daddy, if I do this, this, and this for you, I don't even remember now what he said, but there was something he would do for me. Can I get the ice cream then? And I thought about it. I said, that's a pretty good deal. Yeah, I'll take that. You get the ice cream. And he was really happy, but I didn't stop there. I went down to him again and said, Nicholas, did that help? He said, yeah, that really helped. And after that, he never screamed for anything. He always came up with solutions. Can I do this? Can I do that? And the tail end of that, a couple of months after this episode in the car, he came to me and said, Daddy, can I get 300 kroner or 298 kroner for buying a Ninja Turtles car? I said, no, you can't. Okay, it's that. And he turned around, went to my mother, who was then at our place visiting, and got her busy making waffles and lemonade. And then he, with the help of my mother, got a table down the stairs out into the street and put this up, waffles and lemonade and everything. I was standing in the veranda looking down, and she was behind a tree just to make sure he didn't get out into the street and get driven over. He was like 3.5 at that time. And then he was stopping cars, selling lemonade, selling waffles until he got 400 kroner. I know that later, how much he got. And then he went to my mother, gave her 100 kroner for the work of making the waffles and the lemonade. He took 300 kroner, came up to me. The car cost 298 kroner. So he said, Daddy, would you drive me to the store for 2 kroner? And I was like, yeah, hell I will, sure. We drove to the store. He paid 298 kroner and was happy as a pig. So this was a beautiful experience. And all through his youth and everything, he went always into this mode of trying to find a solution. Never scream, never tantrum, anything like that.
Brendan?
Yes.
Yes.
What else do we talk about here?
You can talk about, because when we went to the school, you were talking about like, be more interested. That's the thing we should teach our children today.
Definitely. There is, I mean, it's a really nice, there's some like really nice workshops we can do with kids and some really nice role plays. I do this with my kids where we just like, where we go, I asked Lily, who's 8 years old, okay, Lily, give me a couple of minutes of being interesting, like steal the conversation. And I try and talk to her and she'll steal the conversation. She'll be like, hey, Papa, enough of that, listen about me. And she'll take it and she'll start telling me everything about her. And I'd say, oh, high five, that was really cool, you stole this. And then I'd say, go be interested. And she'd say, hey, Papa, how was your day? And who did you meet today? And oh, what was cool about them? And what was the best thing? And she's asking all of these really nice questions about being interested. And we do this sometimes. And one of the last times this happened was it was November last year, where we're standing in the bookshop. And I said to Lily, go Lily, be interested. Be interested. And she looks, okay, Papa. And she's 8 years old. So she asks the person in the bookshop, how long have you been working here? And the woman looks over the counter at this little girl and says, oh, about 5 years. I'm just waiting. And Lily says, oh, and what do you think's the best thing about working here? And says, oh, I get to see all these new books and lots of nice colleagues here. So I think, wow, that's a good question. And then I wait, and then it comes the best question. So if you had a Harry Potter wand, what 3 things would you change about this bookshop and why? And I was like, oh my God, my heart started melting. And I was like, Lily, we're going to buy you a present later. Okay, Papa. And then the woman started giving this dialogue. And what I see is that the one thing that kids really have to, like, I think back to myself, I didn't learn these techniques till I was up like as a teenager and had to use them to get girls or something. But giving kids like good questioning skills is a huge skill that we can give them. Like there's so much knowledge in the world. There's so many people that they can get involved with. They can know how to get friends. It's like we don't have any course really for kids how to specifically get friends. We tell them go and make some friends is what we tell them. Go and play football with those kids. Go be friends with those kids. And I remember back to myself, I was like, okay, So I walked over beside them, and then I just didn't say anything. I just stood there. I was like, came back. They don't want to be friends with me. So it's like this, like, can we be a little bit more specific and remember that these kids are lacking skills of getting friends. So can we get them to be friends? And that's just like, it's like a really nice role play to play with kids, how to small talk with other people and how to small talk with grown-ups. I think it's a really nice skill to have.
Yeah, on the expansion of that, about being interested versus interesting, you know, most people don't really realize this, but you are as vulnerable as a person as you are self-centered. Because the only reason why you care about what other people think of you is because you think too much about yourself. So if you're having the arrows inwards and thinking much about yourself and everything is centered around you, then you become extremely vulnerable. Because if somebody criticizes you, that's your whole life, that's the whole universe, you. But if you are focusing on other people, it's very, very hard to hurt you because your attention is not on yourself, the attention is on other people. So if somebody criticizes you, it doesn't matter because other people matters. And the way to help kids become less vulnerable and less prone to being bullied is to make them help other people. If you help your kids help other people, other kids, other adults, other animals, anything besides themselves, not being self-centered, get the winning American attitude, all that kind of bullshit, but instead make them help other people, help them to help other people, then they become less self-centered, less egotistical bastards, and more helpful to their environment. And Nicholas has been like this ever since he was in kindergarten. He always helped the snails. You know, the snails are getting squashed by small feet and don't see them. So he was picking up all the snails and making sure they didn't die from careless children in the kindergarten. And then he helped other animals, and then he helped people. And then when we were in France, he was like, I see there is a guy over there. He's struggling. I don't know what's happening with him. And it was a kid that had some, I don't know, some trouble. And, you know, go over to him and help him. And Nicholas just did that. And all these kind of situations where you can help the kids help other people is extremely valuable for their future because they've become less self-centered.
That's really nice. And I think Brendan also had one key word that I picked up on is like skills. I love the word like skills when it comes to children. Because I think that skills is not something that you're born with, that you have from the start. That's something you develop over time. So if you have a kid that maybe is biting in the kindergarten or screaming a lot or whatever, it's like, it's a skill you have to learn.
Yeah, he's trying, or he or she's trying to accomplish something, and obviously it's not doing it the right way. So you have to get down to the kid and really ask, so what are you actually trying to do here? You know, are you trying to make friends with people, get their attention, or are you trying to not be bullied, or what is the actual thing you're trying to accomplish? And then when you first understand that, which has to do with listening, obviously, to the kid's actual real purpose, then you can figure out what skill does this kid need in order to accomplish what he wants to accomplish. He's pulling the girl's hair to try to get her attention. Well, that's not the right way to get her attention. Let's figure out some better way to get her attention. So, you know.
That's right.
I'm going to throw in another challenge for parents here, just for fun. And this one is something that I do with my girls. I do it maybe like once a month or once every third week. I just ask them, hey, girl, I say like, hey, Lily, do you want some pluses? And Lily knows what this is. So Lily says, yeah, Papa. So I go and I find a comfortable chair and Lily jumps up onto my lap. And Lily knows that for the next 3 minutes, she just has to sit and absorb what's coming her way. So she jumps up and she sits, she's looking at me. And then I start and I just tell her like about 100 different things that I'm so grateful about her. Just like about 100 things. And she's sitting there and she knows that interrupting, it's just not going to stop me. It's just one way of just like total flow from me to her. It's just like, and I really appreciated when you did this. And the last time when you did that, I thought that was a really cool thing. And I also appreciated that you did that. And that time that we played that game there last week and this, and whenever you laughed and whenever I saw you jumping there and we did this, and it's like, just like go totally all in. if we want to see more of this type of behavior in kids, we have to also be this type of role model, I think. And we're also like, we're telling kids, like, help other people, but this is like, let's tell the kids everything that we really appreciate, that all of the small, like the really tiny things. It's a really nice activity to do. So the challenge, no matter how old your kids are, I don't care if they're 25, just sit down and let it go. Just ask them to sit in front of you and be quiet, and here goes. And then just start talking about all the beautiful things that have happened lately that you can tell them.
And the good thing about that is it's a lot harder to try to squeeze out the bad stuff and change the bad stuff in a kid. If you have some bad stuff you want to change in a kid, it's much harder to attack that than to reinforce the good things, because that only takes acknowledgement. You sit down and you tell the kid what you think is really good about what they're doing, about their personality, about how they handle things, about something about them. And that's reinforcing the good thing to the point where the bad thing starts to fade out. Because we tend to focus a lot more on the bad stuff than we do on the good stuff. And I think this is almost uniformly in human culture. If you look at the workplace, you see people getting 90% criticism and 10% praise, if they're lucky. But most people do more than 90% good stuff and only less than 10% bad stuff. But the 10% bad stuff get 90% attention. This is a problem. So if you want to change somebody's behavior for the better, make sure you reward, you acknowledge the stuff that they are doing, which is good. And the bad stuff will, to a certain degree, take care of itself, unless it's criminal action or something like that, then you have to handle it directly. But if it doesn't really matter, then don't focus on the bad stuff. Focus on the good stuff instead.
It also reminds me, I think it was last year, Erika, when she was 11, she took part in a gymnastics tournament. And in her group, there were 20 people, and she came last. And she came up to me at the end, and I was looking at the scoreboard, and it's her name at the very bottom. It's like 20th place. And I'm like, this is going to be fun, like I have no idea how to, this is the thing about parents, that we've never done this before. And I tell my kids at least once a week, I haven't done this before. I've never been a papa to a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. I haven't done it before. I haven't taken that course. I don't know. I'm making this up as I go along. And she came up after this gymnastics tournament, and I looked at her, I said, it looked like you tried really hard, but that was 20th place. I don't think you're going to the Olympics. Because that was her dream, like to go to the Olympics in gymnastics. And she looked at me, and because I built up this bank account of like thousands of things that I really appreciate her, I could say that. And she knows that this isn't bluff. I could have been like, I still believe in you. You're going to the Olympics. And she would have known that was false. And I saw the look in her eyes, and she looked back at me and said, Papa, it was last place. And but that's okay. That's okay, Papa. It was last place. And that's true about the Olympics. We started talking about that. And then I said, but you know what? You came 20th place out of about 7 billion. And she looked at me and went, what? I said, how many people didn't enter that competition? And she looked at me. And then she gave me this huge hug. And it was that like huge hug. It's like one of those unforgettable moments. And then that was it. I didn't have to say anymore. I was like, some of those times that you just like, you go totally all in, and you tell your kids everything that you feel, everything that you build up this level of trust. So when you get in situations like this, you just open up again, and everything's there. And then we saw each other like, yeah, we got this. This is okay. We can talk honestly about this, and it's okay.
Yeah, one thing that parents are not really good at is actually telling the kids exactly what they feel about the situation. That is something that needs to be practiced a lot. I mean, not just talking from a role of a parent, but actually talking about what your actual feelings in the situation is. Like, I really appreciate you do that, but I don't appreciate you doing that. And here's why. I'll tell you exactly why. And not, yell at them, don't do that anymore. And they don't get a reason. Now, that is a problem that parents run into. They are so stressed in their everyday life, they just yell out, don't fucking do that anymore. And the kids go, oh, okay. For some strange reason, I'm not going to do that anymore. I have no clue what exactly I'm not going to do or why I'm not going to do it. But I'll try to behave some sort of. And then you step out the line and it's like, oh shit, that was the line. I didn't know that for sure. And then you get all this criticism right, left, and center, and you get really confused as a kid. So that's not a good thing. Don't make your kids confused. That's a good rule. Just don't confuse them.
I've got a good rule with my girls. It's where, you know, this saying, no always means no. But in our house, no means like the question's up for debate. So the thing is that if the kids ask me something and I say no, and I just say no, and they don't challenge that no, then we say, girls, we got to sit down and talk. Don't ever let me just say no without you standing up for this. Come on, give me your best argument. Let's do it again. And they ask again, and I say no. I say, Papa, what would I have had to ask for to get that a yes? And I said, oh, nice questions. We're getting back to the questioning skills. But it's this lazy approach of, and I can criticize fathers. I don't know about mothers. I just know, like, most of my friends and my like men who become parents. I know, like, sometimes we're a bit lazy. So it's just like, no, but without a reason. And is that what we really want? Do we really want to bring up, like, my two daughters? Or just like some people are just going to say no, and they'd like turn around and say, oh, he said no. Like, come on, is that what we want to train them like that? We want to practice these skills of like making our girls tough, kind, like the most kindest, empathic people in the world, but tough as heck.
But
No, I have another story that I need to share with you before it gets too late and people drop off the video because it's too long. Now, I was in a situation before I got divorced back in I think it was 2010, about 10 years ago. We had this beautiful sailboat that we were buying just because we want to go on a sailing trip for 14 months with the kids. It was a way to salvage the marriage, which didn't happen. But a part of that was Catherine, not you, but another Catherine, my ex-wife. She said, if we're going to go on this, we need to test out crossing the Atlantic. We don't do that with the kids without one of us actually having done that first. So she said she wanted to do it together with a crew on a sailboat, which was similar to our sailboat. And she went for 21 days across the Atlantic, 21 days without seeing any other boats, just water, right? And I was then a parent at home for a month, just as myself, just me. And at that time, 3 kids. So not having done that before, I sat down with my boys and then asked them the first night, I asked, so what is a perfect daddy? I need to know what you think is a perfect daddy for the next month. What do you want from me? I mean, I'm a sole supplier of parenting services for the next month. So what is the perfect parenting services? What is the perfect dad? So I asked Benjamin, he was the youngest, and then he went like, okay, what, I don't remember exactly what he said, but you know, he sketched out what the perfect dad was. And it wasn't all about, you know, getting candy every day and just jumping on the sofa, playing video games all night. No, it wasn't that. It was, I need help with this situation at school and I need help with that type of homework. And then Jonathan, the second oldest, and then Nicholas, the oldest. So I got sort of my specification on what the perfect dad was. And every night through that month, I asked them to rate me on a scale from 1 to 10. How good a dad did you have this day? And I got a score. And I said, okay, so what's the discrepancy? What's lacking to get a 10? I need to know what is the thing that's missing. So I tried to improve on that the next day. And here is what happened. You know, I improved through the whole month. At the end of the month, before Catherine came home the next day, I also, okay, so give me a total score, 1 to 10. And Benjamin went like a 10,000 billion million quadrillion something. Okay, so that's a 10. Yeah, that's a 10. Okay, good. So Jonathan, what score do you give me? 9, you said. Okay, why not a 10? No, everybody can improve something. Nobody's perfect. And this is our philosopher. When he was 5 years old, he came home and said, Daddy, do you believe in reality? So he's a very cool guy. And I said, Nicholas, what about you? I give you a 9, he said. Why? Because that situation when Benjamin and Jonathan was quarreling, you picked side too early. You know that. but then you try to fix it, but your fixing was not very good. It was actually horrible. But that was just one situation. So I give you 9. It's good. And when Catherine came home the next night, she asked, so how did it go? How did it go? You were, a single dad for a month. 9.33, I said. That's how it went.
That's cool. So I think we're going to wrap it up a little bit now, but I want to bring in one exercise that Brendan has actually taught me, the perfect day exercise, Brendan. That's a great thing with the kids.
That's a great exercise. That's something I borrowed from Geir. Geir, do you want to take it, or will I?
No, you can do it.
Sorry, Geir.
Go ahead.
Okay, I can do it. So this is this is another tip. I think it's really nice that people can get tips and challenges from these webinars. So here's what you do. You just you go to your kids and you ask them to take a pen and paper, and at the very top you write "Perfect day with Papa," and let them write. And sometimes that exercise can last quite a while. You see them taking more care in that single exercise than they've taken care of any homework they've had the last month. And they can sit writing and writing and writing and writing. And at the end, they'll say, Papa, here you go, perfect day with Papa. This is what it is. And sometimes you get like crazy stuff like, I'm going to take a rocket and fly to the moon. And so you sit down, you read it with the kids and you have good fun. And then you say, okay, so let's do as much as possible on this perfect day. And let's do it. And then just make sure to do that as soon as possible, preferably that day. So if it's something like building Lego, then start building Lego. But here's the fun thing, that this isn't a small kid exercise. I mean, anybody can do this, and it can go both ways. And anybody can do this with a partner. Just hopefully that the perfect day for your partner includes you. So if the wife writes down a perfect day, just hope that it's with the right man. But this is like, just give other people the freedom of perfect days. Now,
and also, it's okay if it's drawing. If the kid is not old enough to actually write, he can draw, or she can draw.
And one of the things here is that we're all going to die sometime. That's that's inevitable. And I think that one nice thing is that to build up this huge amount of positive, unforgettable, perfect days. I think that's like people can look, what's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of life? While you're figuring out the meaning of life, us other people over here that's having a lot of fun, and we're just having perfect days. That's what we're doing. So I think it's a really nice exercise, and it can switch both ways. So have a perfect day and give it to people. Do this with your friends. Do it with everybody. But seeing this is about parenting, it's a really nice exercise to do. And you can even frame them in, like you can frame in these letters and put them on the wall. They're so nice to have.
And one thing you can be damn sure about is that when you do a perfect day, then you have to be completely mentally present. You don't play Lego with the kids thinking about something else, or think about the work you have to do tomorrow or something other than actually doing the Lego. You have to immerse yourself completely when you play with the kids, because the kids actually will perceive it. They will know if you're really into the game, or if you're just doing it as a mechanical exercise because somebody has told you have to play more with your kids. You have to be there mentally, completely.
Seeing as this is about parenting, I'm not going to let this session go without talking about my own parents. So I have great parents. And I was thinking like, okay, parenting, like why? What if there was one thing I could say about my parents? What is it? And the one thing probably that was really special that still is like sticks out of my mind is this, that my parents give me the possibility to understand what a crap job is. And I found out what I definitely don't want to do in life, because as a 14-year-old, I had a job. As a 15-year-old, I had a job. As a 16-year-old, my mother drove me to a hotel in the car park. She said, get out of the car, walk into that hotel. Don't come out of that hotel until you've got a job, as a 16-year-old. And I was like, what? Don't come out of that hotel until you have a job. And I was like, okay. And I was like, this was like crazy. This is way far out of the comfort zone. I was still at school, studying like full time at school. And so I walked into the hotel and I asked to see the boss, and I said, I have no idea what to say, but I've got my mother in the car park. She's sitting in the car, and she said that I can't come out of here until I got a job. So I have to get a job. He thought this was pretty funny. So he gave me a job. So suddenly I was like a waiter at this hotel. So I walked back out 5 minutes later. And I still don't know to this day if my mother was like, did you really, like, she was shocked that I got it, that it actually worked. But I walked out 5 minutes, said, there you go, I got a job. She was like, okay. And that was that. But doing all of these crappy jobs is something that I think is really important for teenagers. I think it's so important. Like it's like Haile Van, who's here, was like sitting in Japan, and we started this conversation about different cultures in Norway. Like one of the biggest problems I see at the moment is like we have these teenagers who would definitely say, like, now as a 6-year-old, I'm not getting a job. I've got this entitlement that I don't start working yet. It's like somebody's going to save me in life and give me a job in a couple of years, like, and I'm going to start earning like 1 million krona or something as soon as possible. So and a lot of teenagers are feeling so entitled to their right to just landing these perfect jobs. So I think my parents, that's one of the biggest gifts that they've probably given me. These tough times that were hilarious. Looking back, they were the best job I ever had. But right there and then, it was the crappiest jobs I've ever had, which definitely led me to really appreciate and be grateful for everything that I've worked with afterwards.
Any input, Geir?
Yeah, I mean, I can just talk about very, very shortly about my own parents. My mother gave me this huge boost in life when she pointed to the stars when I was 8 years old and said, you see these 3 stars? That's the Orion's belt. And then I started asking, how far away is those stars? And she was a teacher. She got me to, ask all these questions about the universe, and she would answer. To the point where I went to the university when I was 12 years old and started to ask the professors about a lot of stuff because the teachers at school couldn't help me. And then from there, it just went down into particle physics and astrophysics and everything. So that was a kickstart. And my mother was always about asking questions, figuring stuff out, being curious about the universe and everything like that. My dad was actually, my mother died in 2012. My father is still alive. And he was very good at one point or one aspect of life, and that was that he let me fail. He let me fuck up. He didn't intervene every time unless it was like life-endangering, which, yeah, at one point it was. I blew myself up when I was 14 years old, ended up in the hospital being blind for 18 minutes, but he wasn't there at the time. But otherwise, he would let me fuck up. He would let me stumble, fail, and that I'm really grateful for. So.
Yeah, I think we will round it up there.
Yeah.
So next week, next topic, I think there was a lot of comments about setting goals, and I don't remember his name, Brendan, maybe you do, but they wanted to talk about what after you reach your goal and reach the top, what you do after that. And I think that was the topic.
Yeah, this was from Henning, I think. Henning is a really cool guy who is Henning's Verden. We should put a link to Henning's podcast and share that in the group as well, because he started a podcast.
That's in Norwegian.
Yeah, but we should definitely help him get some English podcasts. Like we have to do ours again in English, but he's a guy that is a really interesting guy that's doing these really cool podcasts. But I think that would be a nice thing to talk about, what to do after you achieve your goals. That's one idea. But what we can do is put out like a list of 4 or 5 and let people choose what they want.
Yeah, we can do a poll. We can do a Facebook group poll. That would be the coolest thing. And then we don't need to close the poll until Wednesday.
Yeah.
We can keep it open until Wednesday, and then we decide. I mean, I really don't prepare for these at all. So for me, we can close it 5 minutes before we jump into the session.
Perfect. That's the plan, and that's a wrap, I think.
Perfect.
Have you taken a screenshot?
No, I haven't. Can you do it again?
Okay.
Yeah.
Screenshot.
There, go. I can sit like this forever.
Don't wave, because if you wave, you can't see your hands move. So you have to just pretend you're waving. Yeah, exactly. And the screenshot is happening right now. Smile. There we go. All right.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for joining in.
Okay, thank you for sharing the stories.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Say hello to all the Japanese people. All of them. Okay. I miss Japan. I really miss Japan. I want to go back. I loved the Japanese culture. I love the Japanese people. I love Japan.
Oh, Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.
See you.
Bye.
Katrina, can you download that from the chat?
Yeah, I will try. Screenshot. Yeah.
Have you got it?
Give me this downloading now.
Or I can email it to...
No, I think it's down now. So.
Okay, got it. Okay, bye-bye.
See you, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. See.
Happy, Katrina?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And what about you? I will end the recording now.